What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Figuring It Out Finance podcast, episode number 61. So the Figuring It Out Finance podcast is me, Chris Rickenbaugh. I'm documenting my journey in real estate and business while also talking about travel hacking and personal finance. So you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Figuring It Out Finance. You can go check out figuringitoutfinance.com where you'll have access to the podcast on Podbean, YouTube, and Spotify. Today's episode is going to be covering The Vivid Vision by Cameron Herold. So before I head into that, got some really cool things going on in real estate. We're submitting 3 offers today. One might be a wholesale, the other is going to be a fix and flip, and that's going to get us started on a portfolio of over 50 properties. So super excited to get started on those projects. So I'll definitely have something to talk about in the coming shows, so make sure you tune in for that. But getting back to today's episode of The Vivid Vision by Cameron Herold. So if you haven't read this and you're a business owner, you should definitely have this on your list, because some of these small businesses kind of start out willy-nilly and they're just kind of all over the place saying, hey, we just want to make money. But the best way to be able to start with this and get your employees on board is if you craft this 3-year vision that Cameron Herold talks about. That's the vivid vision that you can really kind of nail down your future. So you're already putting it out there. What's your company want, or what you want your company to look like, and how the how kind of takes care of itself, because you've already mapped out where you're going to be, and then the how is going to be able to take care of itself. You've already put it out there into the world. You're going to be able to motivate your employees and find the right people to be able to get you to that vision. So I'm going to start out in a couple different ways here. So sharing a vision with your company, what a BHAG is, or a bag, BHAG, the vision, and then how you can incorporate this into your life. So starting with this, how can you share your vision with your company? So this is the main portion of the book. So the quote is, one goal as the company leader is to develop leaders within the organization. The more work you can responsibly delegate, the more you can focus on bigger issues. So sharing that vision with the company that you're bringing these employees in to do, you're going to be able to craft them as leaders. And then you're going to be able to share that vision with those employees that are going to be able to help you get to that vision. So as you're growing, you're just not delegating is the strong word. You're just kind of handing these things off to people and they're just doing them. So that's not getting them on board with that company vision. You want to be able to show them this vision and say, hey, here's what we can do in the next 3 years. And Cameron Herold is pretty stern with it can't be 1 or 2 years, and it can't be 10 to 20 because that's too far out. 1 to 2 years is a little bit step by step, but 3 years, he said, is the sweet spot for being able to share that vivid vision, because it's just long enough and it's just short enough. So he says it's the sweet spot. So being able to share that goal with your employees and then being able to turn them into leaders behind that overall vivid vision and that goal out there. So you're being able to eventually delegate these positions. They're helping you get to that vivid vision and they're on board with it. So that's going to allow you the time to be able to focus on the bigger issues, helping you get to that vision. So moving on here, the BHAG. So this gets thrown around. It's just the letters BHAG. So what that stands for is big, hairy, audacious goal. So this is how you're crafting your vivid vision, because what Cameron Herold talks about in the book is being able to do a mind map. So if you watch my TikTok today, you can go back and see that on Instagram or TikTok. You'll see kind of a picture of that mind map and what that looks like for Cameron Herold in the book. But basically, you start with one idea. So that company, and then you basically just keep spider webbing out and just throwing out these ideas. So how he kind of explains how to do that is go somewhere, not at work, not in your home, just go somewhere that lets you be very, very creative, and then be able to start with that company and then branch out all the craziest ideas, all those super ambitious goals that you have, creative ideas on what that could look like, and just write it down and then be able to draw that back to your company. So once you have that down, that is what is called the mind maps. And setting out that big, hairy, audacious goal or bag, you're able to kind of show that to your employees and craft that vivid vision towards that and around it. So that is something I'm going to be doing here soon in the real estate space and seeing, hey, what can we do? So I think the center is going to be more towards family life and business, and how do we make a move out to Maui, Hawaii. So we just got back from that vacation, loved it out there. I'm like, all right, I want to live here. So now I'm pretty motivated with the real estate space and being able to build out that vision. So what does our business look like, and what do our lives look like that we're able to make that move out there and still have a profitable, healthy business? And then I just kind of start out from there. Like, how do we get there? What does this business look like that doesn't require me being in a specific spot so I can be remote? And then how are we still able to scale that company and be successful? So that is the mind map, and just kind of going after the bag, that big, hairy, audacious goal. So moving on here is the vision. So this is crafting the vision. I mentioned talking about sharing the vision with the company is that it needs to be 3 years, no less and no more. So that's Cameron Herold's sweet spot for being able to craft that. I'm not the best person to be able to explain exactly why 3 years. He has that in the book if you would like to go read that. But 3 years, craft that, or have that big, hairy, audacious goal with your mind map. And then he has a quote in here that, remember that the how is not your job. So I'll say that again. Remember that the how is not your job. Because if you remember from that first quote, it's the more work you can responsibly delegate, the more you can focus on the bigger issues. So you're going to be hiring and then delegating those positions to be able to get, and that is going to be your how. Those people behind your vivid vision are going to be able to get you to that big, hairy, audacious goal. And that is crafting the vision on how to, or where we're going, and that is going to motivate those employees. So, and those people are going to be attracted to you to be able to go after that goal. And it's your vision of what that company is going to look like in 3 years that is going to motivate them. So that is the vision. So remembering that the how is not your job, you're bringing in people that will show you the how and be able to do it, rather than you having your hands on everything. And that's like the who, not how type of book. Love that book, by the way. So moving into the final part here is, how can you incorporate this into your life? Or just other areas of your life. So I'm going to start off with a quote here and say, it's impossible to reach your destination if you don't know where you're going. And piggybacking on that is, and it's easier to get where you want to go if you know what that destination is. So that describes business, life, money and finances, relationship and family. It's all of that. So you can have vivid visions for all of those things. And that's something that I did here in the past year or two, that I was able to kind of craft what I wanted my life to look like, because that's when I was working my first job straight out of college. I'm like, man, what do I want my life to look like? So I started looking at investing, and I did it a little bit loosely. So now I should probably go back and do that again, as things I think are going to start to get crazy here towards the end of the year. But one of the major things is I was able to do that in my personal life, in my relationship. So I did read in a book somewhere that if the author was a business owner, and he said, I have all these defined goals and expectations for my business, and why am I not doing that with my life? So he said, he was single at the time, and said, okay, well, I'm just going to write down everything about my future wife, what she looks like, talks, acts, every single thing. And he said he ended up meeting that exact person eventually. So I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. I might as well do that too. So I did that, and I was single at the time, and then I ended up meeting my now fiance, and I went back and looked at that, looked at what I wrote, well over a year ago now. And I was able to see, I'm like, wow, what I wrote defines her basically perfectly. And that's really, really crazy to see. So that is crafting one of those vivid visions. And then we together did a vision board, and 3 or 4 of those pictures that we've put up there has already come true within probably 2 months of doing it. So it's just really crazy to see that once you put it out there, verbalize it, and you have that picture on the wall, that some of those things do come true as your subconscious works towards it, because you believe that it's possible, and your subconscious is actually working towards that for you as well. So I definitely recommend, doing this for your business, but also your personal life. And then what do you want your money and finances to look like? So breaking down on how to figure out how to move to Hawaii. Yeah, it's expensive out there. I mean, we had a great time, and now we're looking at, okay, what's it going to look like to be able to have a rental out there, or not have a rental, but live in a rental or buy. And we sat down and looked at it and said, for a really nice place, we're probably looking in that $7,000 range, maybe a little bit cheaper, a little bit more, but all right, $7,000 in a year, that's, about $85,000. So we're looking to say, okay, well, how much do we need coming in per month? And then we said, about $15,000 per month is going to let us live pretty comfortably over there, have a good rental, have a good house, and then eventually be able to give us that time to be able to scale the business to where we're making plenty more than $15,000 a month. And then that's going to be able to give us the life we want to live out in Hawaii. Now, that's with our current situation, not with kids or anything else in that realm. So, that 7,000 range for a really nice house with an ocean view in Hawaii, that's the goal. So we're working towards that and figuring out, okay, well, what do we need to do here in the next 2 to 3 years to be able to get us closer to that goal? So main point of the story is you can have vivid visions for all areas of your life. And I highly recommend it because it gives you a place to go. And then remembering that the how is not exactly your problem or your job, because you're able to have those people around you that's able to help you because they see that vision and you're able to communicate that vision with them as well. So wrapping it up here, if you haven't read The Vivid Vision, go ahead and read it. I didn't exactly wear out the highlighter on this book like I thought I would. A lot of the other books that I read build on top of this. But if it's one of those first books that you read, you probably will wear out the highlighter, especially if you have a small business and you're looking to scale. Highly, highly recommend it. So this was a recommendation that Brian Lubin talks about all the time and said that his business definitely changed after reading this. So I said, I might as well read it. So the next one is another one that Brandon Turner actually has talked about quite a bit recently is The Dip by Seth Godin. So that is going to be next week. I'm almost finished with that. Super interesting as well. But as for this podcast, I'll be back again on Friday with understanding your finances, a little bit how to save, how to invest, what you should be looking at in your personal finances, and just making sure that you're tracking it. So listen in on Friday for episode 62. But as for today, episode 61, The Vivid Vision by Cameron Herold. Go ahead and read it. And this is Chris Rickenbaugh signing off for the Figuring It Out Finance podcast. We'll see you next time.